so much has been written about communication and so much has been talked about communication,
Mm-hmm.
but yet we don't talk enough. And 80% of communications fail because we don't know how to say what we really want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't say it. But then that doesn't mean that you blurt out everything that you want to
No.
say, right?
When you were working with your mom and the same kind of experience we've had in our family, it's just that there is this person who's
Mhm.
losing their memory, who's very vulnerable, and you still think you can talk to them like you did,
Right.
20 or 30 years ago.
Learn to step outside yourself and say, how could I be more graceful in that conversation?
Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And I am here with Tracy and Anu from Vivatude. And please subscribe. Go to Vivatude. That's Vivatude. And you can just put that right up in your search box on YouTube, and you will find some amazing content already. So once a week,
know.
we upload 4 brand new episodes. And so we're very excited to have this team just uplifting women. And I think that's the thing that this whole thing is about. And so my rule number 4 for caregivers: communicate. And when I say that, I go communicate, communicate, communicate. I think a lot of times, especially Anu, you brought up the fact that so many people are lonely right now. That loneliness causes us to go internal, right? And so we don't talk about the things that, and we don't know how to verbalize when we need help. We don't know what to do or what to say. I think a lot of us have our noses in our phones and we're not necessarily connecting. And if you're caring for someone, that's going to sap the energy out of you. But more importantly, it's going to disrupt the status quo in your life, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationships, it's your relationships with your siblings, your family members, your friends, etc. Anu, would you kind of speak to the communication piece?
Communication. I think so much has been written about communication and so much has been talked about communication,
Mm-hmm.
but yet we don't talk enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other challenge is when we talk, how we talk, we don't pay attention to that. And there are three things in communication that become very significant. I think whether it's the sandwich generation, our listeners whom we are, talking to, but also anyone else who is communicating. What is the intention of that communication? So if
Mm-hmm.
we can, in our minds, clarify for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
why am I going to have this communication? Is it to prove myself right and prove the
Right.
other person wrong? Or is it to create, come to some place together? What is
Mm-hmm.
the real intention? And if we were to clarify that, so many, misunderstandings can be avoided.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
rule number one. Rule
Yeah.
number two is make the invisible visible, which is lot of times there is just either, there is a sugar coating, there's just so much underneath which is not coming to the
Mm-hmm.
surface, that we just are communicating, but we are really not communicating.
Right.
And 80% of communications fail because we don't know how to say what we really want to say,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't say it. But then that doesn't mean that you blurt out everything that you want to
No.
say, right? The third piece is the honesty, in terms of, to yourself. Am I being compassionate in this communication? Have I considered the other person? It's seeking to understand
Mm-hmm.
the other side, because communication is a dialogue. And when we are in this zone, which is I call the zone where we are not passive aggressive, where we're just like not saying anything, to we are violently blurting out everything,
Mm-hmm.
there is a place in between which is called the dialogue. And that is the golden rule of communication. having a dialogue. And dialogues are important. Dialogues are important
Mhm.
to have with your doctor, of the person you are
Right.
caring for, to understand what's going on,
Hmm.
what's their current state, how do you attend to their current state.
Hmm.
Dialogue is to know what's the reality or the prognosis
Hmm.
in the next few months is, in the next few years is, so that
Right.
you're prepared. Dialogue to with your siblings, to have your boundaries clarified, that this is something you can't come and break, because this is my sanity circle.
Hmm.
Those are the kind of dialogues that are so
Yeah.
important, with intention, with making the invisible visible, and seeking to understand. With those three rules,
Right.
we can have really rich conversations.
Well, and I think one of the things that Tracy, you talk about is this physical response sometimes if we get into a communication dialogue about, um, like somebody pushes your buttons, like mom did for me. But I get my buttons pushed now by my husband all the time, or sometimes it's my girlfriends. They'll say something and just like, "Why did you say that?" And I think one of the things that happens is we get stressed out. If we have a lot of stress, it's like our adrenaline is higher. Is it not, Trace?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
So
then we have a hard time seeing
Mm.
what
the
really is
picture.
happening, right?
Hmm. And
Sometimes,
so
yeah.
everything is like it's the got this mask of the filter. That's what I'm thinking. The filter that we're seeing it through is I have too much on me, and so this is coming at me, and so I'm going to lash out because I feel like, and that to me is an element of, you know what, you need to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
and the thing that's so important is also understanding that, I mean, I know we all go through stressful period. That's part of our lives, right? But I also know that, when we're trying to communicate, it's important that we do so respectfully, but also with your loved one with dignity and learning how to do
mhm,
that. With my mom, I had to learn the hard way. In the beginning, I was way too forceful with her because I was in business mode, right? And I was trying to help her. And that did not go over well. As a matter of fact, it alienated her. And I had to learn to back off and realize that this is not the kind of scenario that I need to do. And this is an opportunity for me to learn something new. And so, I was really the one of the best things I did do is I went to the staff at Chateau Pacific and I said, no matter what I do, my mom is angry with me. And I said, I need your help. And it was great because I spoke to the executive director at the time and I said, I just don't know what to do. And so their director of nursing sat down with me and she gave me some tips on how to have a better conversation and how to come with humility and respect and allow her dignity. And she doesn't, everything doesn't have to be perfect, right? And that was, I think, the piece that I started to realize that I was putting way too much pressure on myself to be way too accurate and way too overpowering. And, because I felt like I was in control and I
yeah.
wasn't the one in control.
I
My
think that
mom
is,
was in control.
yeah, and that's such a important distinction you make. And I go back to my father-in-law, and there's so many things I wanted to correct him on, because of course he was
Hmm.
forgetting, and I wanted to remind him, and I want to tell him, you're in your son's house. And then
Hmm.
after a while, I realized that what's going to serve us well, what's my
Yeah.
intention. My intention
Mhm.
is that he has the most comfortable stay
Yeah.
with dignity and respect for the 6 months he's here. If
Yeah.
that is the important thing, then what is it what I need to make it visible? And it
Hmm.
became, only thing became important was his safety,
Hmm.
nothing else. Is
Yeah.
he safe? Is he eating well? Is
Hmm.
are we giving him something which he likes to eat? Are we communicating in a way where he understands me and is understood? And that became the most important thing. And
Right.
then for me, it was self management on my part with my own triggers, right? My triggers would come up. Of course, they will come up. We are all humans living human existence on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll always have buttons which are pushed. But recognizing the buttons are pushed, and our body is such a
Mm-hmm.
huge has wisdom, huge gift to us. If we can just check in with ourselves, and our bodies will tell us, "Oh, honey, you you are all your shoulders are all hunched up,
Mm-hmm.
your tummy is all tight. You are here reacting and not responding. What
Yeah.
will response look like, and what will wisdom say here?
Yeah.
How would wisdom want you to respond?" And
What an
again,
important question in that, you know,
yeah.
to step out, learn to step outside yourself and say, "Hey, you know, how could I be more, um, you know, graceful in that conversation?"
Because here's
Mhm.
another human being who's suffering, who knows
Mm-hmm.
there are times when he knew that he forgot
Yeah.
everything and he was suffering so much as
Mm.
a result of that. And so recognizing that it's his suffering in this, and you
Mm-hmm.
look at it with compassion and forgiveness and
Yeah.
gratitude. I have the
Mhm.
opportunity of serving him, which when you're removed, you leave your loved ones behind when you move to another country, you barely have that opportunity to be there in
Yeah.
their times of need.
Yeah.
And here I have been gifted this, and looking at it with a lot of grace and gratitude
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to just be present for him. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we just have to ask ourselves this question, and sometimes we have to give ourselves that space, and that
Mhm.
space could be that walk, could be that mindfulness, could be that meditation, could be the breathing, and could be, I had a very close friend who's still very close to me, but we became extremely close during these 6 months, who's my next door neighbor. And I would call her and I'd say, Mamta, I need to come to your house for 5 minutes. I just need to vent.
Wonderful.
I need to vent for 5 minutes because I don't want to vent in front of anyone, but I want to vent to you, and I'll go back. And she says, come
Yeah.
on over. And she'll make me some great chai, and we'll have chai together.
Oh.
And instead of 5 minutes, it'll be half an hour. And I'll just completely, vent out so that I can fill
Mm-hmm.
up my cup again. I filled my cup
Yes.
again, and I went back. And
Yes.
then it'll become empty again, and I'll go fill
And
it.
and Anu, you said something that was really powerful, and I want to also address that statement to Tracy on a physical level, being present.
Mhm.
Um, Being present on a physical level is absolutely part of this, is it not?
Absolutely. We can our minds can be all different places and not where we really are. And I think there's a lot of teaching in that aspect of we really have now this 1 second, this one moment. And I have a brain that likes to think 10, 15, 20,
Mm-hmm.
all this, and it has to plan. It has to, so I have this strong perfectionist side. And as Anu was saying too, you just have to learn to realize it's safe to not be that
Mm-hmm.
perfectionist. And you were saying how when you were working with your mom and the same kind of experience we've had in our family, it's just that there is this person who's
Mm-hmm.
losing their memory, who's very vulnerable, and you still think you can talk to them like you did
Right.
20 or 30 years ago. So that learning curve. And I love also, I knew what you were saying was making the invisible visible. I found with my clients too, if the thing that's really bothering them or the thing that's really making it hard for them to reach their health goals or physical goals, if we speak about it, it becomes a small thing
Yeah.
as opposed to this thing that's festering in their mind that continues to antagonize them. And so I love the aspect, yes, find your community, find people you can trust because that's going to help you physically
Mm-hmm.
you want to do so you can be healthy and vibrant feeling. So
Absolutely.
yeah, bring
Absolutely.
that invisible out, and there's no shame
Yes.
in that.
Yes.
No shame.
And next segment, we're going to talk about my 5th rule. And it's my favorite one of all. And I can't wait to share it. We'll be right back right after this. And thanks for listening. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivatude your next chapter because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.